It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. That's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated with style and durability. You can trust Tervis tumblers to keep your drinks the perfect temperature, hot or cold, for hours. From the classic insulated tumblers to sleek stainless steel water bottles, each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
Since our founding, we've been revolutionizing hair removal with cutting-edge technology and a commitment to empowerment. The You-Like Air 3, launched in 2023, ushers in a new era of sapphire ice cooling technology, offering nearly painless hair reduction in just 3 weeks. Experience the future of hair removal today at youlike.com, because at YouLike, beauty is about looking and feeling good. That's ULIKE.com. YouLike. With Ease US, make studio-quality voiceovers for your videos online in over 149 languages and dialects, featuring 468 natural AI voices. Customize the volume, mood, and pauses to perfectly match your content. Plus, capture high-quality videos with no watermark. Record your screen, webcam, and voice, and save them instantly to your computer. Never been easier to create professional-grade videos and voiceovers. Try it today at easeus.com. That's EASEUS.com. Ease US.
Just use AMP-Pace.
AMP-Pace.
Oh, it's the Pete Sousa Show. Scotty is stressed. We're presented by Slovacics. Oh, man, it is a great day here at the Rogue Media Network. Football season is upon us tonight. NFL preseason. That Hall of Fame game last week just kind of wet the beak. And tonight we got the Eagles going, right? But most importantly, we got Shedeur Sanders starting. If you want to know everything about Shedeur starting, go to the Pete Sousa videos page on the Pete Sousa Show on YouTube. We got a couple videos up there about Shedeur and the opportunity he's getting tonight, and it is a great one. Pete Sousa Show, of course, we are presented by Slovacics. Tim Brando going to join us today to celebrate the great Lee Corso. 90 years old. 90 years young, we should say, is the coach, Lee Corso, and his first ever partner in crime on ESPN. The two guys, along with Bino Cook, who started College Game Day Lee Corso, Tim Brando. And they have a special relationship. And Brando's one of my all-time guys, man. He smashed through my living room with Dick Vitale when I was a kid calling college basketball on Big Monday. And, Brando had more like the Big Ten beat with Vitale or an ACC, if I remember correctly. We were more Big East guys. So he was a draw into another part of the country for me. And now he does the Big East, and the guy still works wire to wire as far as major sports are concerned. For Fox, and he calls a hell of a game still. So Tim Brando, the legend himself, is going to join us in Block 2. Scotty is efforting now to make sure all the ducks are in a row. If they're not, we're going to talk about Scotty's bachelor party. It's not Scotty's bachelor party, but there's a bachelor party coming up this weekend for Scotty that already has, bachelor parties, right? Girls' weekends, bachelorette parties. There's always a little bit of tension last minute, and we've got some. And we may share that with you if we have to fill time. We can fill time other ways, but I got something interesting happening over here. Socorro Family Ford, if you're in the market for a car, interesting place to go. You got to stop by Socorro Family Ford. Like I always say, you can dip your toe in the water and they will take care of the rest. You're never going to feel awkward, rushed, but you are going to feel good about your new car. Daniel Stark Injury Lawyers, they've helped me. Let them help you. If you get into a situation with a car wreck, insurance companies will screw you. Daniel Stark will keep that from happening. They take very good care of you. Extraco Bank, Crawford Austin Properties. And don't forget to watch the Payoff with Pete, Stories of Sobriety. Another one is up, I think, this afternoon. Talked with Laura Taylor, the owner of Mingle Mocktails. My story, right? 14 years sober almost, and God willing, and it's a huge part of it. So the Payoff with Pete, Stories of Sobriety is a podcast where you get a chance to kind of dip your toe into those waters too. Maybe you got a problem. Maybe somebody has a problem. I had a problem. I had a big problem. But no more. Life is good. And life is interesting if you're a quarterback at BYU, UCF, Oklahoma State, or Colorado. Now, those are the 4 big quarterback battles right now if we look around the conference in the Big 12. And the most interesting one by far is BYU. Colorado, we covered that a little bit last week, right? I feel like Caden Salter has faltered a little bit, and there could be an opportunity for the young quarterback, the freshman Juju, to have an opportunity to start, and more will be revealed about that. I'm surprised that Colorado's a 4.5-point favorite in Week 1 against Georgia Tech right now. So maybe the odds makers, again, know something we don't. But that quarterbacking situation will surely have an impact on that.
That's playoff bound Georgia Tech to you.
Scotty's got Georgia Tech in the playoff. But the race I really want to talk about is in BYU. And it's because it's so layered. And it's such a special place to be a quarterback. Right now they got McKay Hillstead, Trayson Bourget, and Bear Bachmeier. Now, word out of camp is that Bear Bachmeier, over the course of the past, 48 hours, has been somewhat relegated with the number 2 unit, right? Taking snaps with them, as Tyson Bourget and McKay Hillstead are taking the majority of the reps with the ones. Now, this weekend, BYU has a scrimmage, and it is closed to the point where, the media, their post-game interviews will be done over Zoom. Like, nobody's going to be there, which is kind of interesting. I love that stuff. Training camp, cloistered moments, all good. Creates a buzz. But at some point, that buzz is going to have to get whittled down to at least a 2-quarterback race. And I think that'll happen over the weekend. McKay Hillstead, apparently the leader in the clubhouse. That is scary to me if I'm a BYU fan, because at the end of the day, at 5'8", literally, they can list him wherever they want. He's 5'8", 190, 185. Is that a guy that's going to last you all season playing quarterback? That's something to think about. And then after that, Trayson Bourget, he's probably the most well-rounded quarterback. And then you got the first guy off the bus, Bear Bachmeier, who I don't think that we can – if I was a Bear Bachmeier fan, or if I was Bear Bachmeier myself, I would be taking it easy on myself in camp, because the fact of the matter is these other 2 guys – more developed quarterbacks, period, and have had a better opportunity to learn the system, right? Embrace the system. Bear Bachmeier wasn't even, and nowadays most freshmen are there in the spring, but with the with the Stanford coaching situation shaking out in March, he didn't transfer in time for spring ball. So Bachmeier's just still kind of learning things. I'm hearing that McKay Hillstead is going to be the guy, but again, I'm not Kalani Sitake. You know, I'm not Aaron Roderick. It's really hard to break down who is number one just by watching reps at practice, right? Because there is something way more to being a BYU quarterback. And I think you have to really bear down, right? And look at a situation like this. When you think about all the legends, I was looking at this morning because I, as someone who grew up as a major college football fan, was always dazzled by BYU. And the reason was because of some of their great quarterbacks. Now, as a kid, I was around for Jim McMahon, the Bears, right? And Jim McMahon was such a prolific, exciting, charismatic quarterback that even as a kid, I did some digging and found out, like, whoa, this guy went to BYU? And then the guy on the Raiders, Mark Wilson, right, who had a cannon, who Al Davis was in love with, was an amazing BYU quarterback. And then I got to witness myself, Ty Detmer, right? Steve Sarkisian, right? Sark was great at BYU. I talked to one of my buddies, Troll, actually this guy who's a trainer out in Hermosa Beach, was a really good friend of my brother Kevin's. God rest Kevin's soul. Kevin is right here, the surfer, my main man. But anyways, Troll and Kevin used to work out together in Hermosa, and Troll used to train. He's a pro trainer to all, like, some of the best athletes in the world. He used to train Sark, and he loves Sark, and he talks about how much Sark loved BYU because they go all the way back. And even, you know, Max Hall. Max Hall won 39 games as a quarterback at BYU. And when you're breaking this down, and you can't forget about guys like Robbie Bosco either. That's a national championship. You know, so the BYU quarterback, Riley Nelson said it yesterday with our 365 guys on 365 Sports. I heard the interview. I loved how he put it. You have to understand, this is a job that if you are the quarterback for BYU, you are now the second most popular guy in the state behind whoever the best player on the Jazz is. That's Riley Nelson, former BYU quarterback. Those are his words, not mine. And a lot of times, some of that wherewithal and progress, right, that sort of is connected to being a part of BYU. And what do I mean by that? Well, Ryder Lyons, like, he's going on a mission, right? So by the time he actually starts his BYU career, more than likely will be 2027. This is a five-star quarterback, the best quarterback in his class, as far as I'm concerned. And I always say people who I talk to who know more than me, as far as they're concerned as well. And he's going to come back or come into BYU with that moxie, right? Now, Riley Nelson even said yesterday, I want to debunk this right now, like, physically it doesn't matter. Like, it's not like you're matured a little bit as a man. He was like, throw that misnomer out. Having come to BYU and camp off a mission, that really doesn't matter. He said, but as a man and your development mentally and things you can get through, yeah, like, that matters. And that is kind of why I think, or I know, I don't think this, I know, because I've heard from people, that BYU is really going to take their time selecting who their starting quarterback is going to be because of the pressure that comes with it, right? Because of the role as to who you are in the eyes of not only the school, but the church, and people all over the country that follow BYU sports. It's 10:14. Is Brando there? Nothing? Okay. Nothing from Tim Brando. Looks like we might be talking about Scotty's bachelor party coming up soon here in a little bit. But when you look at a job like this, okay, there's just so much pressure. I heard from Riley Nelson again yesterday. Talk about his convo. He talked about the fact that when you're getting recruited to play quarterback at BYU, or when a coach is being courted to come coach at BYU, like, and it's nothing nefarious, but the school, the athletic department, like, they do their due diligence, right, to figure out exactly who they're getting at quarterback, right? What type of person is this going to be? It is beyond important that they figure out, Kalani Sitake, right, Aaron Roderick, not only who can play on the field, but who can handle the job. Like, it's quite a crown to wear. Again, the whole state and members of the church around the country are looking to this person like, you know, you're out front of the Jackson 5, man. Like, old reference, but you're Michael Jackson, you know? That's the quarterback of BYU. I can go back to when I was with Christy in March. I was out there to call a Utah basketball game. So we're in Salt Lake City. And Cam, I'm really like overextending, right? I'm out kicking my coverage. So I take her to Ruth's Chris. We go to Ruth's Chris and we walk in, and right away, I'm like, oh, Christy, like, that's Cam Rising. And now it's January, but it was Cam Rising, and he was very much left to himself. Okay, another instance, being out in Provo, seeing Jake Retzlaff walk into a restaurant there, and now it's Provo and Salt Lake, but he was the mayor, okay, and he handled it pretty well. He was a charismatic guy, a great leader, good football player, made a mistake. But they went down to the wire with that search, right, or with that competition. Gary Bohannon was beat out at the very last minute by Jake Retzlaff. And I think that speaks to the due diligence this coaching staff does when picking a quarterback. All right, take a quick break. Tim Brando on the other side. We're talking Lee Corso. We're talking Tim's schedule this season, and we're talking about college football. You got to stay with us. The Pete Sousa Show presented by Slovacics. Back after this.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. That's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down to afterwards, was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning. So we love Extraco.
I don't know, if Bubble wasn't here, I don't know what people would be doing, like making PowerPoints or something. Bubble allows you to make it real and for it to actually work. So I feel like Bubble bridges that gap and being able to give people the opportunity to make their ideas come to life really quickly too. I love that I can sit down and build something the way that I think it should be built and have the control over it.
Bubble turns ideas into fully scalable apps. Try Bubble today.
Hi, I'm Jo from Face Theory. You're going to want to have a specific goal for your skincare routine. What do you want to achieve? Active ingredients are really strong, and if you're using too many at once, your skin can get overwhelmed. Don't overspend on products. Choose products that have scientific research behind them. At Face Theory, if you're not happy with a product, just say so, just give us a shout and we'll give you your money back, no problem.
The Pete Sousa Show. We are back live atop the Alico building in Central Texas. And without further ado, let's get to my man, Timmy B. Tim Brando. There he is. I mean, the legendary Tim Brando. Cheers. I got a chance to talk to him about the legendary Lee Corso. And I also get to pick your brain about the college football season. How's it going, Tim?
It's great. I just flew back from L.A. We had our NFL and college football seminar out at the Terranea Resort in Rancho Palos Verdes. And so I flew home last night just to be ready for you today. So you guys, there's not many people, Pete, you, Chris Visser, a few other folks, you know, I've known Leslie's brother for a long time. He's a good man. And anytime you want me, feel free to reach out. As you know, I'm an admirer of your work. So great
Timmy
to be here.
B on a red eye to join the Pete Sousa Show. It seems like a reach, but I'll take it, baby. I'll take it. Terranea is beautiful. Terranea is beautiful, by the way.
Oh, it is. It's gorgeous. Listen, no disrespect to all the other networks where I've been. the seminars that they did, which were wonderful, informative, fantastic. We're all lucky in this business to have had the opportunity to work with different people, but no one does a seminar like Fox. Trust me, the setting is pretty amazing, and they do a great job. And it's always fun to be there. This is why hard to believe, Pete, but this is now my 12th year with Fox. It's been a blur. It's been an absolute blur. I'm not getting nearly as many questions about my 18 years at CBS as I once did. So I guess maybe people have sort of figured out what channel I'm on these days.
Well,
So.
I love it because I'm a Big 12 guy, so I get to watch even more often.
Right.
As you guys get going with the Big 12 season. But before we get into college football, I want to jump in the time machine. Lee Corso's 90th birthday, obviously.
Yeah.
His last season coming up. You were his original partner. And I don't think people overlook that. Really, when people look at the history of Game Day, it's pretty well known that it was you, Bino Cook, and Lee Corso.
Well, you're a broadcaster, okay? You're a guy that's in the business.
Yeah.
But it's those were the dinosaur days of ESPN. I mean, we had just sold from Getty Oil to Cap Cities. Disney was way in the future still at that point in time. They did have a little bit more of a budget to work with than they had when they hired me to call some games in 1985. They managed to get an extra zero on a check at that time, as opposed to just the two that were there before when I was freelancing for them. But it was a great opportunity. But it's been, for me, my last year of hosting Game Day was 88. I did 87 and 88, went out, did games in 89, moved away from Connecticut back to Louisiana to keep my house in order and my marriage together. And I did work with Lee a bit more between games and doing halftimes after Fowler had taken over. Bob Carpenter, the voice of the Nationals, who's retiring this year, is actually the guy that replaced me. Chris was still doing Scholastic Sports America. He was a baby. I think Chris maybe just turned 60 or 61. I'll be 70 in February, so I've got him by a little bit. But those were wonderful days, and I'll always remember them. I say many times, Pete, that we're really lucky in life if we meet a handful of people in our lives that are difference makers, dynamic human beings, great, successful people. I've been fortunate, maybe because I've hung around long enough, to work with two hands full of dynamic, incredible, successful people, guys that were the best in one craft, okay, and then moved to another vocation and were the best at that. Lee is one of those guys, and I did his audition tape. He and Pepper Rogers came on the same day to do the audition to work with Bino and me. The idea, the concept of Game Day was Steve Bornstein, the former CEO and at the time vice president of production. He had this vision of having the very first ever pregame show for college football. The networks didn't have that. ABC had the college football Prudential scoreboard and halftime shows that Bino was a part of with Jim Lampley, and prior to that, Dave Dials and Merle Harmon when I was really young. But they couldn't get the networks to clear cartoons at mid-morning, at 10 o'clock in the morning, to do a pregame show. So with cable, you didn't have that problem. Bornstein, knowing that, after the CFA was formed and the lawsuit with Georgia and Oklahoma had been won by the Supreme Court, it enabled cable then to carry games live. Prior to 1985, the only games that were on ESPN were tape delayed because the NCAA held the rights to all of college football. When they lost those rights in 1984 in that Supreme Court decision, that changed everything, and it enabled cable to really grow, and opportunities for guys like me to have jobs. Because if you weren't working at ABC and you weren't doing those one or two games that they had, you weren't working in college football. So, but Lee, for this generation that sees him as the clown prince of college football, they have no concept of just how incredibly informative and football savvy he was. He was our Herb Street. Okay. He was performing Herb Street's duties. And in addition to doing Game Day, he was out doing games at the same time, half the time. On some weeks, we had two games. And we actually worked in the booth together for the Hurricane Bowl in December of '88 after the college football season. But after Bob came in and then he left after one season, went back out to do games, they called me in to do halftimes in between games, sort of I guess what the Reese Davis role was before he replaced Chris, or what the Matt Berry role would be now. They made it a two-man gig. The early days of game day, it was like a telethon for me. I was on from 10 o'clock in the morning until the PCAA game in San Jose was over at 2 o'clock in the morning. And Lee would be with me doing halftimes in between games. He'd be like, Timmy B, you're smooth and error-free, sweetheart. I'm going to be the next Dick Vitale of football. He had a vision, just as Steve Bornstein had a vision. And, of course, we had no idea that it would later become an iconic show. But without Lee, it doesn't become an iconic show.
Well, you said, Tim.
And he learned a lot from Bino. He watched what we did with Bino in the early 80s. Bino was the butt of the joke. We had fun with him. If he went 0 for 6 in predictions, we put him in a manhole cover to make his predictions in Manhattan the next week with a hard hat on. And Lee was an entertainer, and he learned from the people he was around, including from Bino. Some of that stuff was stolen from Bino, but Lee had no pride in authorship, and neither did Lee. So whatever worked.
Yeah, you've talked about that, his willingness, because we were showing some of the pictures. He was a fiery coach, right? But he's a coach, so he understands learning. And you said when he came on the show with you guys, he was very open to understanding how this was going to be successful, which is I would think somewhat rare in a business with a coach, or I actually know it is with a business with a coach, to be so open to feedback.
Well, not only that, but that day with auditions with Pepper Rogers, who was a big time personality too, had a bigger than life personality, but he was a storyteller like most coaches. And once a storyteller from that generation gets going, you can't stop him.
Yeah.
And so in a studio format with an hour-long show, you got to be able to speak in sentence fragments in 10 to 15 second sound bites and make your point. Lee had an understanding of that, and to be of his generation and know that was a true talent. But he studied TV. He had an idea of what he wanted to do. And that day, I've done a lot of, I don't know why they had the two together, but they did. So they knew they were both vying for the same job. And listen, Lee knew his record was not as good as Pepper's. He knew Pepper was much more well-known than he was, having been at Indiana and Louisville, not exactly football meccas. And Pepper had coached at places like UCLA and he had a big-time image nationally. So he knew he was an underdog, but I think he felt like, I'm going to win this audition. So when we had the tape and the cameras off, he'd lean over to Pepper and say, and I'll never forget this, they're going to want you to come up here every week. With your schedule, I mean, aren't you doing a lot of speaking? I mean, you want to give up all that? I mean, I don't think they're going to. These guys don't have a lot of money. I don't think they're going to pay you. You really want to do this? I mean, I just can't imagine. He's talking him out of wanting the job, as though Lee really thinks this is not a great job either. Well, Lee was basically feeling like, I got to con Pepper into not wanting it so I can get it. And yet he was blowing him away in the audition. I mean, he was by far and away the better of the two choices. But that's just who Corso was. I had worked with him.
That's an amazing anecdote. That's amazing.
Yeah, I had worked with him in the USFL when he was coaching Reggie Collier and the Orlando Renegades. And everybody at ESPN had met him through that. So he had won the favor of some of our producers.
And Pepper Rogers coached in the USFL too, right?
Yeah.
He was a real personality. Yeah.
Yeah, he had the showboats. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So guys like Walter Lewis were playing for him. Reggie Collier was. That experience was incredible for me to call Herschel Walker's record-breaking run. I was so lucky to join up and get freelance work in 1985, and those experiences were entrees into getting the game day gig and moving up and becoming a full-timer. I was still working in Baton Rouge and living there, and when the phone rang and they said, Tim, we need you here, we need you there, I was running off. I had a good deal at the CBS affiliate in Baton Rouge. They were good to me.
And you loved getting out. You liked the studio, but you loved getting out and calling games. But being in the studio, you got a chance to be with guys like Corso long term. You've mentioned he's one of the 5 most important people ever to cross through your life. What's the number one reason you say something like that? That's powerful for a guy like you to say.
Because he had a vision for not just what he wanted to accomplish, but what he saw in other people. He could tell them, he knew I wanted to call games, okay? And he was like, Timmy, sweetheart, they're going to be seeing your pretty face every week. When you're up there doing a game, you're just a voice. You could be anybody. But I mean, so they see you at halftime and for like 2 minutes before the game. Your mug's going to be on TV all day and all night. And if you love college football, they won't be able to escape you. And he was right about that. I was a little bit disappointed when I was told after moving up there that I wasn't going to be doing games because I'd already done the USFL. I'd already done a lot of college basketball. But Bornstein was starting the game day brand with Chris Berman on NFL game day, and Tim Brando on college football game day. And, it was, I'll just say what Steve used to talk like that. He would say, you're my blanking guy. You're my blanking college guy. You know what I'm saying? Boomer does the NFL. You're my blanking college guy. And that was also inspiring. And they were right. And I don't know why I was as good as they said I was good in the studio. I really don't, other than I attacked it like a game. I wasn't a script guy. I learned how to write for television through SportsCenter. I'm glad that I did that too. But in a studio before a game, hey, what games are we talking about? Let's go. And let's just be spontaneous. I think a lot of studio shows today fall short because they are too scripted, too rehearsed. It's one of the reasons why that TNT show has been such a hit. Ernie just goes, okay? And you never know what's going to come out of those guys' mouths. Well, that's when TV is really good. And that's what Corso was. He was a live wire. Like he would say, Tim, I was at Alabama and Curry's got a high school team. That's not a college football team. I mean, who says that in 1986? Okay.
About Alabama and Bill
About
Curry.
Alabama.
Yeah.
All right. I think it was 87. And then when it came time to do the 88 Hurricane Bowl after Hurricane Gilbert, you may remember this, you're in Texas.
Yeah.
They thought it was taking dead aim on the Texas coast, was going to come up to College Station. Bill Curry, a Bobby Dodd guy, against one of Bears boys, Jackie Sherrill, in what would be Jackie's last game as a head coach at Texas A&M. He was in trouble with the NCAA at that time. Jackie was PO'd that Bill didn't bring the team down, and then the tornado's eye went in a different direction. The hurricane eye went in a different direction, and it was sunshine and blue skies. And of course, Corso's there, getting ready to do the game with Mike Patrick because it was going to be a double dip that week. And when they rescheduled it for December 6th, which was a week after Auburn, Alabama, and Texas A&M, who do they send to do the game? Corso and Brando. So I did it. I worked in the booth with Lee too, and he was brilliant. Not many guys that were coaches that were so good in the studio could go and call a game and be just as good. By the way, Chris Fowler was a sideline guy that night. So there's a little trivia question for you. And if you ever get a hold of the tape, he looked like a baby. I mean, I was 88, I'm 32. Chris was he's like 26, maybe 25, 26 years old.
Yeah.
So it was a great time.
Let me go inside TV with you just real quick, and then I want to get your college football takes for this year, and I'll let you out of here. When you talk about studio shows being unscripted, like, give a little bit more background on that. Like, do you mean like flat out, like I got bullets, I got cards, and that's it? Because I do totally agree. Doing these studio shows now, once a teleprompter gets involved, it gets really, it gets flat. It does.
I would tell them if you've got a feature that needs a certain lead, fine, put the prompter in. Like we've got a story from Ron Thulin was our, remember that name? Ron Thulin was our Dallas correspondent. He was based there. So if he had a story on a Southwest Conference game coming up, and it needed a certain lead, put that in the prompter. Otherwise, I want to see the set. I want to see the shots that the director's taking. We have a rundown, a little sheet with a rundown on it. So we're going to hit on these topics, and we go. And, maybe rehearse it once so the director gets a feel for what he's doing. But listen, we just want to talk some ball. And, from time to time, if one of the guys on the set, whether it was Bino, I don't want to talk about that. It's like, well, Beans, I don't care that you talk about that. Just let Lee go, and then I'll move on to the next thing. Because producers want to, Bino needs to say something. I don't want to blanket talk about it. So I said, if Bino doesn't want to talk about it, it's a waste of time. So let's just move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
And that's how we rolled, and it made for a lot of fun. And if the two of them got crossways, okay, on something, and Corso and Bino could, I'd just lay out and let them go.
Yeah.
Just let them go. And then I'd interject and be the traffic cop. Scores and highlights, same thing. You got a card. Howie Schwab was our research guy. Howie brings in the card, and here's the score. This is the whatever 88th meeting between the two. So that kind of thing with little nuggets on it. Highlight sheet, boom, one play, go to it. And then let's talk about the matchup the rest of the way. That made for good TV, fun TV, where you weren't sure what the other guy was going to say. I think some of those shows now, they're so very predictable. And a lot of times it's almost like you can tell a guy's going in another direction because he has to.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I want you to say what you truly believe. And if you don't believe it, don't say it. And in those early days, they trusted us. And that was another key factor, was the trust. And Lee he was so great. He had a Hollywood approach to everything. He said, sweetheart, let me tell you something. You navigate through those waters smooth and error-free, Timmy B. And so he's pumping me up like a coach would pump up a quarterback.
Yeah.
That's the way that guy rolled. And Bino, who was at times could get cranky. Okay, it was my job to get him out of that cranky state. Brad, I don't want to talk about it. Beans, not a problem. We'll move on to the next thing. How about we talk about you going 0-6 last week on your picks? And then he breaks up laughing, and then we start having a good time. It was a great lesson in television for me. And the sad part for me as I look back is that at the time I was still wanting to be someplace else. I wanted to be at the games. But so I didn't maybe appreciate it at the time as much as I should have. But it's like a football player when he wins a championship. You don't really realize how great a time it was until you have a little space to look at it in your rearview mirror. And every now and then somebody will send me some old tapes, and I'll go, man, that was fun, wasn't it? And we won the favor of the coaches. The show was we only had 25, 30 million homes in cable back then. The major cities in the mid 80s didn't have it. But I will say this, the 80s were when ESPN blossomed. And I think it's great that with Lee leaving, my last connection to that show was Coach Corso. And say what you want about the headgear and taking the show on the road, which made the show iconic. I get all of that. But the creativity of the people that were there in the beginning had to be off the charts, because we didn't have the budget. We didn't have the amenities that they have today. And so if you didn't have the right people, both on the set and behind the scenes, you'd have been in trouble. Lee and Bino played off of that really, really well. And we made it a family atmosphere. I'd go to the Holiday Inn Plainville, pick up Bino at like 8 a.m. for breakfast, take him back into the studio. Corso's getting ready, and we get fired up and talking about it. Lee would take little cat naps whenever necessary. That's why you stay in this business through your 80s and into 90. He always had this incredible energy. But like Bill Raftery, who's I think 82 now, these guys can take 30-minute and 15-minute naps, and then they've got staying power to the bars at like 2 o'clock in the morning. It's unbelievable how they do that.
I gotta get your take on. It's amazing too, by the way, how you use your lens to look in the past, but you use today's perspective to kind of really go through that lens, which I appreciate. All right, a couple more for you on college football now. You're coming off that seminar. what is the number one storyline for you as we really ramp up now coming into this college football season?
Arch Manning. I don't think it's close. I mean, that's the story. They're preseason number one. He comes from the first family of football, all football. You know, I used to joke and still do with my friend Terry Bowden about the first family of coaching, which in my opinion will always be the Bowden family because of what Bobby did, what Terry and Tommy both did at their respective schools at different times in their careers. But the first family of all football is the Manning family. And I saw Coop and his wife Ellen out at our seminar just yesterday. And I knew about Arch when he was playing at Newman as a freshman. The old redhead, as you know, worked in the studio with me at CBS along with Spencer Tillman. Archie and I, the patriarch of the family, we did Saints preseason games together for about 6 of the 11 years that I did it in New Orleans. So I've known about this kid for a long time. And trust me, Pete, if you saw any of the SEC media days, you noticed the horde of press that were following him. I mean, you would have thought it was Trump holding a press conference in D.C., you know, with all the people that were there.
Yeah.
And he handled it with such a plum. And talk about sound bites. The kid took every question and he gave you the perfect 12 to 15 second cordial soundbite where he said absolutely nothing and smiled. Perfect. That's exactly the way you teach a guy, right? And I don't think they taught him. I think he was just around those guys. And it was funny. Sark was with us. We talked with Sarkisian at one point on a Zoom, and Sark said, "I've not had one call from Coop, Eli, Peyton, or Archie. Not one in the time that I've had him. The kid was ready, and it's any decision he makes is his decision. That isn't to say that he doesn't seek counsel from time to time, and if he seeks counsel, I'm sure they pick up the phone, but he's ready. So Arch is by far and away the number one storyline to the game on the field this season, and everything that emerges after the Ohio State-Texas game will spin off of what happens with Arch in that first game. That's my opinion and as to the number one storyline. Now, if you're looking globally at college football, I think that you got to start thinking about the reign of power that may be emerging in the Big Ten in terms of consecutive championships.
Yes.
And also the Big 12's stability in coming back off of one incredible year of balance to being actually better, okay, with better teams, but with the same kind of balance. And which one of those teams can emerge from that?
Well, and that's what I want to ask you that, Tim. When you look at the makeup of conferences, you know, SEC, Big Ten, right? And then everybody else, that's what people like to say, Big 12, ACC. How do you look at those and sort of how do you navigate that as someone who's calling these different conferences and these different huge games? I really think the Big 12 is going to be a lot better than people expect.
You know, we say that every year, I think. I mean, I think we say that every year. The only thing that's holding the Big 12 back is market size. Okay? Yeah. The only team that really brings ratings from the Big 12 on a consistent basis is Deion Sanders in Colorado.
Yeah.
Okay? And Deion's part of that. Denver's another part of that. Okay? But the other schools, even when they're great, and K-State's been great for a long time. Iowa State's they've been great really since Matt Campbell got there. A hiccup or two when they've made transitions, but they've been consistently good and will be again this year. But I think with the acquisitions of the other schools, particularly BYU, Utah, Arizona State's going to continue to be, I think, a great story. With Levitt back, I see that team, even without my man Scattaboo, I still think that team could play for the Big 12 title again. But the space between the SEC and the Big Ten is minute, okay? But this so-called feeling about the space between those two and everybody else being way here, that's just BS centered around the money that's brought in by the two conferences. It has nothing to do with what we see on the field. Listen, as good as Texas was, and they were great, they were one play away from not advancing, and Arizona State would have shocked the world. Okay, one play. So that space isn't as great as people believe. I view it from a team standpoint far more than I do a conference standpoint. But the conference rivalry aspect, and my team's better than your team, my conference is better than your conference, all that's part of what drives the tribalism of college football that makes it so much more fun, in my opinion, than the pro game. I love the NFL more than any other pro sport and follow it more closely. I'll do an NFL game this year on week 3. I'm doing the Panthers and the Falcons after I do a Friday game at Rutgers with Iowa for Fox. So I love dabbling in the NFL still when Fox needs me to, but I would never give up college football for an NFL gig. If they want the old left-hander to come out of the bullpen every now and then, fine. But the college game to me is far more enjoyable, far more dramatic. And there's so much more that the fans don't know. They think they know, but they don't. They know about their teams. We've seen some studies just at this seminar. You'd be amazed, Pete. I'm sure when you guys have yours at ESPN, you'll probably hear the same thing. So many people that watch the college game love their team, but they know nothing about the other teams. Okay, that's how fractionalized college football is. Incredibly popular. We've never seen more viewers to the college game than we have now. Okay, but those viewers are only there sporadically. They're in and out. Okay, if you're doing a game in the first quarter and you're telling a story, if you don't maybe tell it again later in the fourth quarter, remind people about it when the game is on the line, they didn't see what happened in the first quarter. They just tuned in midway in the third. So it's not like the NFL in that sense, where there's only 30 or so teams, and you've got fans that know not only their team but the other teams because of fantasy leagues and whatnot. We've got way too many schools, way too many time zones for people to really know all the things they'd like to make you think they know. So it's up to us, I think, as communicators and storytellers, to keep them up to speed. And of course, when we don't, they let us know on these little puppies, I guess. Right?
Last question for you. You're uniquely qualified to answer this. It crossed my mind while we're talking.
Yeah.
What would happen in Louisiana and in New Orleans and around the NFL if Arch were to end up playing for the Saints? They're just looking. They're probably going to be the worst team in the NFL this year. Now, I don't think he'll leave after this year, but they may stay there for a minute. Could you imagine that, Timmy B?
Well, that's one of those storylines building in NFL circles these days. I get that. But let me throw a little chink in the armor there for you. Tyler Shuck, if he stays healthy, is going to be a hell of a quarterback. Okay, that's my prediction right now. Now, they won't be, in my opinion, the worst team. I think they'll win at least 5 games. And I think if Shuck stays healthy, he's going to really surprise a lot of people. They've got a lot of issues, obviously. They don't have the personnel to win more than that, I think. But, yeah, that would be an incredible storyline and one that will be played with a great deal, particularly on the daytime drama shows that we see on cable each and every day. So all those scenarios, I'm sure, will be drawn up, because if you don't draw it up, then what are you going to talk about, right? Exactly. Oh, I know. We'll talk about ourselves, maybe running for president.
Tim Brando, you're honestly, you're a legend, man. Thank you so much. I glean so much every time I talk with you, and I really appreciate it.
Well, Pete, I hope our paths cross at some point during the season. We open our season with the Week 0 game. We're opening the new stadium in Lawrence, Kansas. Devin Gardner,
nice.
Josh Sims, and I. Yeah. So I'm going to get up to see Coach Leipold, which is always fun.
Yeah.
And listen, Fresno State, if Boise State is not winning the Mountain West, Fresno State may be the team that's winning it. So I think it'll be a pretty competitive game. And speaking of Corso, I was really flattered that the ESPN folks reached out to me for their documentary they're doing on Coach. We taped an interview last week, so I think I'm going to be a part of it. I don't know how much of my stuff hits the editing room floor, but that was nice of them. I think that show is going to be airing opposite my game on Fox. So if you don't like me, you're in trouble on Week 0.
People can hit the DVR. Tim, man,
Yeah.
thank you so much, dude.
Yeah, thanks, Pete, and have a great year, buddy.
You too. Man, Tim Brando. That means a lot, and he means a lot. And not only is he just an amazing guy to have with us, but he's also so informative and entertaining. It's a real treasure. All right, we'll be back after this. Wrap up the show, the Pete Sousa Show, presented by Slovacics. Keeps going after this.
For 75 years, Nalgene Outdoor has been your trusted companion, fueling adventures and helping protect the planet. We're committed to reducing waste, improving access to clean water, and providing simple, safe, and sustainable products for you and your family. No gimmicks, just durable, well-designed bottles built to last. Join us in our mission to amplify life, not complicate it. Because at Nalgene, what goes into our bottles matters as much as the adventures they fuel. Explore more at nalgene.com. That's NALGENE.com. Looking for tickets to the hottest shows, games, and events? Ticket Liquidator is your one-stop shop for great prices, no hassles, and guaranteed tickets. Since 2003, we've been connecting buyers and sellers, providing access to sold-out events at prices lower than most secondary market options. Whether it's sports, theater, or concerts, our massive nationwide network ensures you get the tickets you want, guaranteed. For the best seats at the biggest events, start with Ticket Liquidator today at ticketliquidator.com. That's TICKETLIQUIDATOR.com. Ticket Liquidator.
I'm Hunter, the founder of Hello Cake, and today we're digging into ED meds. The number one thing we hear is that guys are sick of waiting for ED meds to kick in. Traditional ED meds take about an hour to kick in as they have to go through your digestive system, where Hello Cake's ED medication dissolves under your tongue and works in about 15 minutes. That's about 3 times faster than traditional ED medication. Curious about ED meds? Go to hellocake.com.
InMotion is more than just a name. It's a legacy of innovation. From supplying electric vehicle parts like motors and inverters since the 1960s to creating cutting-edge electric scooters, hoverboards, and unicycles, InMotion is shaping the future of mobility. Whether you're looking for industrial power solutions or accessible personal transport, InMotion has you covered. Explore our products and experience the future of movement. Visit store.inmotionworld.com today.
Is your Mac running slow? Mac Booster 8 is your all-in-one solution to clean up 20 types of junk files, remove malware and viruses, and protect your device. It also optimizes your Mac's hard disk, fixes disk permission issues, and cleans memory, all to boost your Mac's performance to the max. Get your Mac running like new again with Mac Booster 8. Visit macboost.net today.
Finding a sleep sack that my baby likes has been a struggle. The sleep sack from Joy is a major upgrade.
It's all natural eucalyptus, which is breathable and hypoallergenic, which is really great for your baby's sensitive skin.
And it's made with Climatech, which regulates your baby's temperature.
You can also get Joy's crib sheets, which are made of the same super soft material.
Joy gave my baby comfort
and gave me peace of mind.
At Matt Piffle, we believe in celebrating your journey, past, present, and future. Our unique personalized products are designed to boost your confidence, elevate creativity, and honor what matters most. From custom home decor to meaningful gifts, we help you cherish the memories that make you who you are. Visit mattpiffle.com and start celebrating your story today.
Maud Lily is your go-to for stylish and affordable fashion that fits your life. Whether you're looking for the perfect swimsuit for a beach day, a chic dress for a night out, or cozy tops for everyday wear, Maud Lily has it all. Their extensive collection of swimwear, including bikinis, tankinis, and one-pieces, always keeps you on trend, while their dresses and tops come in flattering styles for every occasion. Visit maudlily.com today.
Scotty escaped, by the way, because Tim Brando was so amazing that we didn't have to talk about his bachelor party. I'd like to thank Tim Brando. Also, what did you think? I mean, first of all, I may have taken advantage of Tim because I could, if you have Tim Brando with you, like you are building out this studio show for Baylor, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I am once again hosting Inside the 12, which you can find in markets all over Big 12 country. I think they're going to have it on Turner, TNT, and you can get it on the Big 12's YouTube channel. But like last year we used scripts and it sucked. I mean, it didn't suck, but it just, you feel like it's holding you back, and it definitely kind of messes with the rhythm and the chemistry and the unpredictability. You don't want predictability on those shows. And that was awesome what he said. Like that is, I'm going to take.
You know, I told my dad this morning, hey, we're gonna have Tim Brando on.
Yeah.
And his first comment was, you know, I think College Game Day has suffered recently because it's getting more and more scripted.
That's it.
It was literally his first comment.
I mean, and it's not just College Game Day; it's every show.
Yeah.
And Tim said it. That's why that TNT show was great. I thought that was such a cool.
Well, and he's right. That's what makes our dynamic fun.
Yes.
Like, and when you have people, like, you need people who can talk. Like, you can't just have, but plenty of people who follow sports. I don't know. The sports shows I like, it's like I want you to take me into you as if we're sitting at the bar on a Wednesday night.
Yeah.
And you're just venting about your favorite team.
Yes.
Like those are the sports shows I like.
Yeah.
It's part of why McAfee show is so successful. Those guys aren't scripted. Those guys are winging everything.
No. And I heard Rosillo and Cowherd talk recently, and they basically defined, and this is why me and you, we got a shot, pal, because it's people who are knowledgeable about sports, have experience in it or around it, and also have life experience.
Yeah.
Like that they're willing to share and weave within
there you go.
their presentation. You know, like give us a little bit of vulnerability, show us kind of who you are.
There you go.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty cool way to do it. Hey,
Well,
anybody in the comments we got going?
Pretty minimal today.
Okay.
No Scotty B. Bear the Truth says, please bear with me is back. And he says ESPN is way too scripted.
Can we get a plug?
Yeah. Please bear with me. He's back August 24th, Sunday night. Terrence Ganaway, Scotty Swingler. We've been talking about the format, Pete, because we
can talk about it now because we'll just talk about this and then wrap.
Well, I want to
to
crap on Rick Pitino for his point guard take, but that's okay. We experimented with Please Bear With Me in the spring and kind of left it open-ended, and it was too long and too much content for me to edit. And
that was long.
We had a couple that we just talked for 2.5, 3 hours.
Yeah.
And I love doing that because I can talk about Baylor football for that long every weekend, but it's not good content. So Terrence and I are going to work really hard this fall, 45 minutes, in and out. Here's what we just saw. Here's what's next week. Bring in a guest if we can that can chop it up and get out.
My one piece of advice would be like don't rush yourself.
Well, we're not going to script it.
Yeah. but I wouldn't.
You can't script Terrence Ganaway, by the way. If you know anything about that guy.
That's true. And you need a personality like that. That's very true.
I'll pitch this real quick too, and I don't know how many people watching would care. We are doing Baylor Game Day, Green and Gold Game Day. Let me correct myself. It is called Green and Gold Game Day, presented by Rogue Media and 365 Sports.
All right.
I don't know when we'll have an official announcement. We're waiting on some things to clear, but we're launching 3 hours before kickoff against Auburn. We'll be live on YouTube, and then we will also be on KWTX that evening.
The powerhouse.
It will be Matt Mosley, Faith Lynch, and yours truly. We have Scott Drew lined up to be with us that evening. We have contributor from Locked On Auburn lined up to come be on set to talk some smack with me that evening. We have Blake Blackmar, the barbecue master and Baylor legend himself, on the episode.
That's a great tailgating aspect to it.
Well, he's going to have his pit right there, and we're going to show you what he's cooking and invite you to come hang with us while we do the show. And then I am working very hard. This is not a huge spoiler, and I don't want to commit him. If Jarrett Stidham is in Waco that evening, Jarrett Stidham will join us. If Jarrett Stidham is not in Waco that evening, there's a very good chance he joins us on the Pete Sousa show that week.
Let's go.
We're going to find a way to get Stidham talking about that matchup too.
By the way, let me take it back to myself on the old Pete Sousa show. My first game is a Thursday night in Houston, so it's Stephen F. Austin at Houston. I may be floating around there.
Wait, is that Thursday?
It's a Thursday night.
Oh, well, Corey told me he wants you on set for game day too, so.
Pete
Sousa!
We'll see.
Pete Sousa will be on set, everybody. He just committed. You heard it here first.
I got Connor Wegman, dude, on Thursday night. My guy.
Your top 5 Big 12 quarterback, which is hysterical.
Can I tell you, I'm so excited to do that Houston game, and it's like, I'm grateful to call college football.
I hope they wear the blues, dude.
So do
I think those blues are sick.
Oh, and it's going to be a Thursday night. It's going to be so much fun. I cannot wait. However, that Friday night game, Baylor-Auburn, it's going to be wild. I feel like this city, this school, and Central Texas is really going to love on this Baylor team and love on Baylor.
I legitimately do not think we've had a visiting opponent that's a marquee matchup like this century.
Dude, I've talked to many people about it. And
I think
nobody,
you'd have to go back to like Grant Taft era.
No, I asked you who the biggest non-con opponent you had, right? Like, and you went to TCU when they were like in the WAC.
That's what I'm saying.
Dude.
The Mountain West, yeah.
Do you know that we all go down these like YouTube rabbit holes. There was I think it was in the 90s. Musburger called the game. It was at Floyd Casey. The University of Miami came to Waco and played Baylor. I mean,
I'm sure that was ugly.
It wasn't good.
Yeah.
It wasn't good.
I'm sure it wasn't
good. It wasn't
I can't believe we got them to come.
I know.
Come
I
to
know.
Waco.
That would never happen now. People affiliated with the Oklahoma Sooners football program are shitting bricks because they're not ranked for the first time in like 100 years.
25.
Yeah.
25
years.
Yeah.
And 2, they are, when you look at Oklahoma's schedule this year, do you know what I'm talking about? They go to play a game at Temple in Philly, which is like, there's got to be something inside baseball. Like, Philadelphia, maybe they want to recruit that area in New Jersey and stuff. But like, I don't understand how you go and end up playing a road game at Temple.
That's weird.
Yeah, you're playing in an NFL stadium, and maybe there's somebody, honestly, dude, I don't know. Is there somebody on that team that's like from Philly? I have no idea. But yeah, that's a surprise. Yeah. All right, let's do our Rick Pitino thing real quick. Rick Pitino's lost his mind, and I love Rick Pitino.
Oh, I'm glad you also think he's lost his mind.
Yeah, I don't. Do you want to read it? I'll read it, okay? Or do you want to read it? I'll read it.
Read it.
So here's Pitino's statement. This is about the point guard, and it was making the rounds yesterday. Here's the quote. The point guard is totally done in basketball. Pitino, who turned 73 next month, said Tuesday after a scrimmage at Carnesecca Arena that was attended by some media and onlookers. Here's a quote again. I said to this team, who's the point guard of the Knicks, the Lakers, the Celtics, the world champion Oklahoma City Thunder? Pitino asked rhetorically. The point guard is totally done in basketball. The days of John Stockton are long gone. There are no more point guards. Chris Paul is probably the last one, so you got to play with everybody handling the basketball. 5 out and just create good movement. Scotty, this has you fired up.
Not necessarily fired up, but I just think he's wrong. Like, positionless basketball is real, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've seen that evolution for 20 years. The center position is mostly dead, at least the traditional center. Like, those things have happened. But did we not just see the Indiana Pacers make the NBA Finals with a true point guard, Tyrese Halliburton, pass first point guard, leading the way? Like, did we not just freak out for a month about Rob Wright leaving Baylor to go to BYU because he's a pass first point guard who drives and kicks? Like, yes, you can play that kind of basketball. You don't need a point guard in today's game, but they still exist, and they still really help your team when they have one. By the way, he names the New York Knicks. Hello, they have one of the best point guards in the sport. Are we acting like Jalen Brunson isn't an all-time
I think he definitely took a liberty with that.
That's so, that's
because
what,
I
when
think
he said the Knicks, I said every person in America can name the Knicks point guard.
Now, I think his pushback will be those guys are such scoring threats. The guys you just mentioned they're not pure point guards. They're not John Stocktons, okay?
So Allen Iverson wasn't a point guard? Like, what are we talking about?
Well, I think Pitino would again say he was a dual threat. Now, here's what where I agree with you. Like, we did lose our minds about Rob Wright. That is so important. And I think Rick Pitino is wrong. I don't know if that even makes sense talking about college basketball. I disagree with Rick Pitino.
Well, he's a college basketball coach, so I'm going to look at both levels.
I disagree with Rick Pitino because I can never say I'm right, he's wrong. But I disagree, and my thought process is with all the transfer portal stuff going on and all these moving parts, I think it's really important to have a floor general. And I think a guy like Rob Wright is essential for a team like BYU with such great talent to rein it in. Another guy in the Big 12, Avery Bradley. is a true point guard. They have guys coming in. They got Brandon Burries. They have Koa Pete. They have major league 5-stars that are just being dropped into Tucson. And somebody's going to need to herd this, right? And Avery Bradley is the guy.
Yeah.
And so the same exact thing at BYU, right? You have superstars everywhere, right? AJ DeBonsa, like that guy is it's August 7th, and you can't wait to see him
this morning.
Yeah.
I was talking about him this morning.
And you need a Rob Wright to rein those guys in the most positive way. So
just to
I
set
don't
them
think
up,
the point
too.
guard is dead.
No. Well, and let me use a couple examples, and then I know we're over time.
Yeah.
Davion Mitchell on that Baylor Bear national championship.
Yeah.
Team. True point guard, could also score. Like I think just because you're a great scorer doesn't mean you're not a point guard first. So like Davion Mitchell would be my example from recent years here in Waco. But here's the other example. You know who statistically is the closest thing we've ever seen to Steph Curry pre-Steph Curry? I've talked about this with you once before.
Who?
Steve Nash. You know what the difference is? Steph Curry takes almost 10 threes a game. Nash, through his career, took 3.
Wow.
And Nash, a year after he retired, said if he could change anything about his career, he would shoot more.
Really?
I would argue Curry and Nash, very eerily similar players who were just products of a different era. Nash was always going to dish first. Nash played with some of the best big men in the NBA, Amari Stoudemire, Shaquille O'Neal for a couple years, other guys. He was going to pass first. Curry's going to shoot first. But if the roles were flipped, if Curry had come up in Nash's era, he could have done what Nash did.
Yeah.
And if Nash had come up in Curry's era, he could have done what Curry did.
Yeah.
The game has changed.
I agree.
But the position has not.
No, and I think Pitino doesn't have a point guard. And so maybe that's part of his thinking too. Like he's got to win, play 5 out, move around. I don't think that's
Well, and to be honest, Baylor doesn't this year either. Obi Agbam's not a true point guard. Like he's a combo guard. So like
I know, actually we do. He's in Provo. They stole him.
Well,
you guys know who you are.
There you go.
All right, the Pete Sousa Show. We are kidding, by the way.
I'm not.
We are kidding. He's not. I am. All right, the Pete Sousa Show. We will see you tomorrow. We're presented by Slovacics. Have a great Thursday.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at 70 miles an hour. I was injured, had a concussion. The insurance company, they delayed. They were playing games from the initial conversation. They weren't going to help me. The biggest thing I learned through this is that you can't go through this alone. I called Daniel Stark. They were going to help me and everything was going to be all right. Daniel Stark got me 10 times the insurance company offered.
The difference is Stark.
We are Rogue Media Sports.